So, as I mentioned in the previous video, we are going to review how to ask someone for them to do one of the activities that we mentioned regarding the phrasal verbs. So, you might know already that it is always important to be polite. And to be polite, we usually have to resort to modal verbs that are going to help us create that politeness or that sense of question, that sense of request. So, as you can see, we have can, could, and would. If you would ask me, they go from the least formal or the least polite to the most polite. Mind you, that doesn't mean that can is impolite. It just means that would is a lot more polite. So, whenever we're going to ask someone to do something for us, we can just say can, could, or would you and then ask them the action that we want them to take. For example, if we're using phrasal verbs, we can ask someone, can, could, would you take out the trash? Could you take out the trash? Can you take out the trash? Or we can ask someone the same, can, could, would you uh, probably let the cat out? Remember that let is just letting the cat do its thing, right? Let the cat out. So can, could, would can help us be polite, and it's a good way to do it, the way we just did it. I suggest you copy the formula in your notebook, or you can just go straight to your book, page 39, so you can see how the structure goes and some other examples. Also, we have the option of using the would you mind structure. Would you mind is also very polite, very similar to would. Now, it depends on how you feel, how you are going to be making your request. But would you mind is very polite and is very nice. The only thing that you have to remember whenever we use would you mind, well, the only two things, we have to remember two things. The first one is that after would you mind, my request or the action that I want the person to take is always going to be a gerund. That means that the verb has to finish in an ing form, whether it is affirmative or negative. We have to finish it in ing. For example, would you mind opening up the window? Right? Or another example, would you mind putting on some coffee? If you remember correctly, putting on is to put something on the stove and turning it on, like lighting it up on fire, right? Well, not exactly lighting it up on fire, but heating it up with using the fire from the stove. So, once you have would you mind the question, the other thing that you have to remember is that here, when we're answering these requests, we would say, yeah, or sure, or of course. Why? Because they're asking us if we have the ability to help them out. However, here with would you mind, if you accept the request, it's going to be a little contrarian, but if you accept the request, you would say no or not at all. And the reason for that is that they're not asking you if you can do something with would you mind. They are asking if you find a problem with it. So if you don't find a problem with it, you would say, no, not at all. I want to help, right? Just keep that in mind. If they ask, can, could, or would, and you accept the request, you say yes, sure, of course. But if the person says, would you mind, and you accept the request, then you would say no, because you are saying that it is not a problem for you. So we are going to take our books and go straight to page number 39. This with the purpose of solving the exercise that the page offers us. All right, give me a second so I can erase this properly. So as you can see, we have two columns in page 39, which indicate that we have to link them or that we're going to match the question with the proper response. So as you can see, more than one answer is going to be possible depending on the request and the answer. So for example, let's get started. The first one says, could you lend me $20? And if you take a look at the answers, let's try to find one that makes sense. $20. We're talking about money. So we're talking about cash. I would say the letter D would be the best option for this request. Then we have, can you make me a sandwich? Remember, we're talking about food. So let's see, since we're talking about food, I say that letter B would be our best option because they even offer us a drink, right? They even offer a drink for us. And number three, we have the request, can you help me with my homework? Here we have to pay attention because it is pretty much open. So maybe the person says, no, I'm really sorry, but I'm busy. That is a possible option. But if the person is fine with it, they might say letter F. Sure, no problem. I'd be glad to. Then we have, be careful here because we have the would you mind, right? The would you minds are the ones that are going to be a little confusing when it comes to the answer because if you accept the request, you're going to say no. So, would you mind not sitting here? This person is saying something about a seat. So, we take a look at letter C, and yes, sorry, I didn't realize the seat was taken. I didn't realize it had an owner. Then we have, would you please turn down the TV? As you can see, this is not a would you mind, this is just a would you please. And the person could possibly answer letter A, right? Sorry, we didn't know we were so loud. And lastly, we have, would you mind speaking more quietly? Which, if you take a look at it, it might also be A, right? Or maybe even F, or even here, F, right? So I suggest you try to solve it by yourself. If you have any questions, do save them for next class because I will be answering them. So, as a way of practicing, as a way of practicing, we are going to solve this exercise. I'm going to help you with the first few. Here, you are going to practice creating requests. You are going to do it in a kitchen, in a living room, a classroom, a park, a cinema. Think this as an exercise that we would probably do in class. For example, a kitchen. Think about it. What possible requests could we make in a kitchen? For example, I could ask someone, let's see, could you wash up the dishes? That is a request that I could ask of someone. Or would you mind putting on the stove or putting on the coffee or putting on the tea, right? Then we have the living room. What could we possibly ask of someone who is at the living room? Remember, I'm just going to help you with a few here. So maybe in a living room, we can ask of someone, can you turn down the TV? I'm studying. What about the classroom? Think about it. When you guys are in the classroom, what could you possibly want to ask of someone in regards to a complaint? Maybe you can say to someone or even to the teacher, would you turn off your phone? It is distracting. It is distracting, right? And then we have a park. What could you possibly ask someone to do in the park? Maybe you could ask them, would you mind mm, stopping or maybe throwing your trash out here, right? Would you mind throwing your trash out here? Right? There's some people that just throw it in the grass or outside. So these are some examples of what you guys have to do for these other four places. What other four requests can you think of? And even if you get creative enough, what requests could you possibly find for these other four? Can you think of any others? I will ask you to do this probably on the picture that I'm going to send you of this exercise, or you can also do it in your notebook.